GM, everybody, man. What a Thursday. Who would have thought that Kanye would launch his coin as meme coins are dead already? What a surprise late to the party. Another gigantic farm. I completely missed it, dude. I was like, I think I was on a call with one of these like migrate teams, and then I came back and it was like Kanye coins at 2.5 billion. I was like, well, missed that one.
Good thing, bro. Good thing. I mean, yeah, this is like, I think I put out a tweet earlier today. Is like, you know, crypto Twitter's getting smarter. It's just like nobody cares. Like, yeah, if you got in, you know, whatever, 400 million or something, you could have made some money, but nobody got in then, right? It's like this is all losers, and yeah, there's zero, nobody's holding, nobody believes in anything right now. No, it's just, there's no way this was going to run to 20 billion or whatever. It's just not going to happen. And everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. And so, yeah, this game is over, man.
Yeah, these coins are just becoming more obvious. Like these like celebrity coins, they continue to start at higher market caps each time. Like literally, I think this last one started at like a 200. I think the Kanye one started like $200 or $300 million market cap. So that is literally like max extraction. Like I don't even think Hayden Adams started the Melania coin at 100 million. I think it was something a little bit lower, but it does seem like everyone's getting smarter, and we could finally put this stuff to rest and finally move on to some better things, which is more launch pads.
You got a launch pad, and you got a launch pad, bro. It's like people are not stupid, right? They see this is where all the money is. Like, well, they're not all, but this is where a lot of the money is. and you can do it and extract tens of millions of dollars potentially in like a month, right? And so, yeah, it's crazy, man.
What if these coins are more than just like making multiples for holders, and like the Yeezy token is more of like what a crypto token should be, which is like an incentive vehicle for his clothing, his music, to get to know him as an artist, to kind of grow his community in a new way, in like a 4-dimensional way. And it's not just solely to like make early insiders rich, or maybe just the earliest insiders do get rich, but maybe not everyone from the secondary market. And like,
do you think he's going? Do you think he's actually going to do something with this?
Yeah, I saw that it's like already integrated into his store. I could see him like, we talked about it with the Red Bull example of like these creator coins and these like social tokens that we used to call them, and how like the wrecked guys are doing it. They pre-sold all those cans, but in exchange for the cans, you got tokens, and the tokens end up being worth more than the cans, and that's how they were able to sell like hundreds of thousands of cans or whatever. And
like the Gary V model of books last cycle, right?
Yeah, and it's like a weird
The Solana Seeker phone was like that too with Bonk.
Right. And so just like, if Kanye was to launch a stock based on his likeness, is it worth like 2 billion, the company? Probably. Like, he's a billionaire within himself. That the Yeezy brand is worth a couple $1 billion. So like, I mean, am I a buyer of the token? No. But do I think that like this is like more of the ethos of what crypto should be, where you can like, the creator monetizes their brand. The creator is the one that gets rich off of it, but he's also able to like reward his community and incentivize different actions within the Yeezy ecosystem. That seems more crypto to me. And I think that it's good that maybe he launched it higher, because people are going to buy it regardless. And he's the one that deserves to benefit the most of it. Obviously, has a fuck ton of the supply. Yep. So it kind of feels like actually more normal. I think that this is like more normal to crypto, what it should be.
Yeah, I think that the question for most people is this going to be like a typical celebrity coin, or they just fade into the abyss, or he's actually going to try to do something like Iggy Azalea? She was probably the most forward on trying to experiment.
And
obviously,
Trump.
And Trump as well. Yeah, they kind of ran into this, right? Is it a meme coin? Is it a utility token? And then once you kind of start trying to do things with it, people start to lose a little bit of interest, or maybe you lose a little bit of interest from the crypto community, and then you have to lean a little bit more on kind of your fandom.
Right. And how many new people did this expose to? Maybe not new, but like Yeezy has fanatics, and like,
dude, crazy fanatics.
I mean, like, you think of like, people collect stamps. Like, you guys know people collect everything. And so maybe people want $5 of the Yeezy coin like they do Trump. Trump is like a master at selling gimmicks, right? He just sells anything with his name on it. And tokens are just like another avenue of that. And it kind of just seems like this is like more of the use case of crypto, rather than just like sending the token to $20 billion overnight or something like that.
Do you think there's any chance that there's a real plan behind that? Like
I think Kanye's a genius. I think Kanye is a genius. I think he's a trendsetter. I would be kind of shocked if it was like a one-dimensional launch, to be honest.
So then we're looking to get in at 300-400 million when it.
I'm not looking to get in. I'm looking to see what he does with the token. And like, I think that that's more of what crypto tokens were supposed to be. Like, use them for something, not just to get rich. And I think that maybe you can get rich off of them, but maybe there's something more. And I think Kanye is like a really multifaceted, multi-dimensional kind of artist and thinker. And I would be kind of shocked if it was just like a pump and dump token. That just sounds stupid. He's already a billionaire. Well, I don't know. And I think the same thing with Trump. And so, I don't know. You look at it in the short term, and like, what does it mean? I'm not sure. But over the long term, like, what's a Yeezy token launched by Yeezy worth over the next 50 years or something like that? I don't know. Just, these are the earliest days of crypto for creators and stuff like that. So a lot of this stuff will have historical value in some sense too. We were talking about historicals right before the show, and it kind of seems like this is another maybe historical play years out, not tomorrow. But,
well, certainly the team behind this, I think they launched, 20 some odd, coins first to kind of shake out.
That was kind of cool. I thought that was kind of smart. The 25 contracts.
Yeah. It like masks which one is the real one, so it can't get total. And like, people are upset because insiders are getting rich and stuff like this. Well, insiders get rich off of merch drops because they know when they're coming. They know they get rich off signed collectibles because they're close to the artist. Yep. And so I think that this is just like the most transparent way it is. And maybe that's ugly. And maybe we don't like the reality that this has always been the case.
100%.
I think that this was always the case, and now it's just more obvious than ever.
Totally.
Yeah, ticket scalpers are kind of the same way. I did like how he integrated it into the store. It felt a lot more kind of on brand for him. The 25 contracts I thought was also pretty smart. I was thinking about how that probably scales out to better launches where teams are going to drop 100, 200, 300 contracts at a time. Because if you have to, right, if you have to beat out the snipers, if there's true intention, right? I mean, obviously you can say you had 25 contracts, but you know, how many people are actually going to vet that? But if you need to beat out the snipers, you could think it's pretty cheap to deploy a contract. So you do a few hundred and maybe you can actually have a little bit more of an organic vibe to it.
It's funny.
And also too, final thing is like with these celebrity coins, it seems to be the most important factor is who they surround themselves with. With Kanye, he did talk with Ansem. Obviously, we have no idea what the substance of that conversation was, but it does seem like he's talking to the right people. I mean, I know Ansem has controversy and stuff, but he's like a well-intentioned person.
Olaf.
With who?
Olaf, the co-founder of Coinbase.
Oh, did he?
I think, yeah, he had like an iconic picture of him like in the Easy Mansion. And I think that he's like the one that kind of set it up. But anyways, he talked to multiple people. But I don't know what were you going to say.
I was just going to say, like, talking, you know, the On-Chain Revolution guys launched their meme coin, you know, this week. And I was talking to him, when I was on the show. We talked offline about, you know, how they were going to do it. And they were going to basically create the contract and launch it, you know, 8 p.m. on Sunday. And I was like, bro, don't do that. Don't do that, because you'll get bots and stuff. You'll lose a ton of the supply or really fuck your community. And so they took my advice. I was like, you might have to launch multiple coins, but launch it like a day, two in advance, and then make sure everybody kind of shakes out. You get rid of all the bots and stuff, and then just tell everybody the CA. And that's what they ended up doing, and it actually went like pretty smooth. You have to kind of, but you have to be kind of knowledgeable, and obviously the Kanye team was knowledgeable. I'm wondering, like, part of my kind of current thesis is like with Pump Fund and these creator coins. I look at it as there's kind of like 3 different versions, and maybe you guys know more of creator coins. One is just this: you launch a meme coin, right? It's the Haktua model, right? That's one way, and that's the way. Like the smart ones, not Haktua, but Yeezy and Trump and all these guys, they get paid, right? They're extracting the whole time. The other is the Zora model, which I think is like the worst of all the models. And then the third is like this Pump Fund idea, right? Which is, you're a streamer, you can launch a token for your streaming. And it's funny, I think that one is the one that like is super undervalued. Like I see guys over there right now who are like, I see him as in some way like Thread Guy. They're like new, you know, but they're like, these guys are going to stream, right? And you see their tokens and it's at 30 grand, 40 grand. Like it's nothing. The market cap's like really, really low. And for me, I'm like, well, I wonder if this is actually a play. Because if this actually catches on as a real meta of a way like a streamer could get paid, and obviously there's a lot of money over there at Pump, you know, to promote this stuff, that could be something interesting from like an opportunity standpoint if you're thinking of buying any of this garbage.
I still can't believe that chat roulette plus tokens is like the multi-billion-dollar idea, dude. It is crazy how that is. That's showing my age a little bit for back in the day. Chat roulette was popular when Chris and I were in high school. It was literally
time on the internet. Chat roulette.
Oh man, yeah, not NSFA for that, not NSFW for that one for sure. But yeah, you know, I tune in and out of like Gainsey's stream, and it's interesting to see to watch like the token price and how that's kind of reflected while he's streaming. But like that and brand coins and stuff. Finally, you know, we got to go through this experiment. And the thing with social coins is that, or social tokens, is there's literally infinite ways to go about it.
Right.
I put this tweet out like the other day that the main differences that I noticed between Ethereum and Solana are the social classification or categorization of different tokens, right? So like when you're we're building Migrate Fund, and you have to do this like memes versus tech classification, and it's like, what's the difference between the two is that the community's classifying these as tech and classifying these as memes, but technically there's no difference between them, right? Whereas like On Ethereum, there's like a specific technical difference between these different token standards that are used for memes, or they're used for utility tokens, right? With like ERC20F and ERC20E and ERC20, right? All these different ones. But on Solana, it's just like, it's kind of the same. So if we're going to experiment with social tokens, it does seem like Solana is the place to be, because they're on the social layer, they're already doing this by categorizing it socially and not technically. So it gives people a little bit more freedom. But obviously with that social freedom comes a lot more scams, right? Because what's the biggest scam in the world is social engineering.
Facts. And I think that we're all right here in the sense that this could be looked at as extractive, but the Yeezy brand's worth a lot. And so if anyone's going to benefit from it, it should be him. If anyone wants to buy the token at whatever valuation, that's on them. But people are getting smarter and saying, I'm not going to go, if they don't have the inside information, they're not going to. A lot of people aren't interested in buying this at $2 billion valuation, and right, especially right out of the gate. Maybe after it's consolidated, after it's kind of, ranged for a little while, brought in new buyers and kind of averaged out. But I hope to see more from Kanye and the Kanye token. We'll see if it happens. But I don't know. It's just like it's like a game theory experiment where he has an opportunity to do something great. Like Trump did something maybe not great, but different with his tokens, which is surprising because he's one of the biggest personalities in the world. And he didn't have to do that, right? He could have just launched the token and walked away. And Kanye has to do something where he has the chance to do something where he can move industries forward in a way that maybe we haven't seen before. And so I don't know, is he going to do it? I'm not sure, but he has an opportunity to, and that's kind of the promise of crypto, is that you have a chance, and that's cool.
Let there be a chance. Before we do get into some hustle updates, Adam, I got to know what's going on here. I heard you caught yourself in some controversy in the historical NFT community where we're pretending this is 2021 again. I don't know what's going on. I actually didn't know until you guys brought this up before the stream. So tell me, what is going on here?
Honestly, I'm not exactly sure. I just saw this post by Shaban, and if you guys don't know Shaban, he's the founder and creator of Spells of Genesis, one of the very first blockchain games on Counterparty. Anyway, he decided, as the company there, to do basically this card set where you can, rip open packs, get cards. There are different rarity of cards, and the cards celebrate kind of early NFTs and people who have been kind of important to early NFTs. So, there's a guy like Christian Moss who, did, Ninja Suit and all those. And of course, Shaban himself's there. Our founder, Shannon Code, is there, obviously, for his important work. Verdandie's there, like all these kind of early legends of crypto, Joe Looney, all these guys, right? And of course, but then they also included people who were maybe important in like 21, like myself, like Jake. I don't even know. Probably Leo's got a card. I don't even know. Like I'm not sure.
Man, dude, they must hate that if Leo.
I'm not sure who the who all the cards were.
I saw Casey had a card. I'm pretty sure. So
yeah, that's funny. Interesting. Yeah, I did see that Casey's got a card. Which obviously, I mean, if it's up to present day, Casey's important, 100%. And so, but I guess, and I saw, I don't know, a few weeks ago, when they posted about my card, like each one of these, obviously they're trying to build up hype. They're posting, hey, this is the Jake card. Hey, this is the Adam card. So that we retweeted, obviously, this is the marketing. So we retweeted and stuff. And I retweeted it and, said I was, happy to be included, yada, yada. And underneath it, people were like, how could you include Adam? Right. and Shannon or Shaban actually said, yeah, he was the most controversial, which is awesome and amazing. I certainly would have never thought I would be, but there you go, man. It is what it is. And so, so Shannon put out this post, I guess it was earlier today or yesterday or whatever, saying, hey, we just including people because they were part of the space, maybe important in the space, help spread awareness in the space. You may not like them, but it is what it is. And so anyway.
Oh, here's Adam's card.
Looking good, bro. That's lit. That's
a cool
card. I get the angry card, bro.
They gave you the first NFT history podcast. So we're on orbital.market for those that are listening. So are they upset with you because of the stuff that happened in 2021 with Terra Lunis? Is
Gotta
that like
be.
what they're still upset about?
Gotta be like Terra Nullius. Yeah. Is it an NFT? It's not.
Uh,
I mean, bro, it's like people don't realize what happened back then. We argued about what an NFT was for at least 6 months.
Dude,
At
it was like 2
least.
years.
At
Well,
least.
I
It
mean,
was like they didn't want to include counterpart because they're a series and they aren't, they're not one of ones and only a one on one of them. Bro.
Adam commented on like Adam Back having basically the same conversation with Luke Deshar, like about blockchain spam. Still, like to this day, like there's so many little nuances in these communities that like rip everything apart. And it's like, dude, this is crazy.
All these nuances. And the funny thing is that, I mean, to almost a T, everything that kind of Jake, myself, Leo were on the side of basically has all proven itself out. Which like with, I know the easiest one is Ethereum, because Ethereum, when it was rediscovered, right, the one that the creator supported, he said this is the only one, all others are scams because they were, messed up contracts. For anybody who doesn't know, devs back then just launched on mainnet. They didn't even launch on testnet because it was just so cheap to launch on mainnet. Everybody did everything on mainnet. So the historical NFTs are littered with, test contracts that didn't work, contracts that were broken, V1 punks being the most obvious example, right? And like almost all creators in 21 did the thing that he did, which is those contracts are bullshit. They don't exist. This is the official contract, right? People who were rediscovering these were like, well, you can have your main contract, but all these others are important part of the tail. And if him at the time was like, no way, you guys are scammers. Well, now of course he's completely flipped to, yes, these are important part of the story, right? And that's just like one example. The other example is Jake scrolling through, I'm seeing Verdandi, right? When I helped tell Verdandi's story and kind of expose her.
Dude, people hated that.
Bro,
they hated that the image was not part of the token.
They literally drove her basically almost completely out of crypto. Almost completely out. It was brutal. They were savages to her. And now, guess what? They fucking celebrate it because it was a really interesting use case of crypto. She like literally, registered the things at the Copyright Office of the US government. I mean, it's like all this stuff she was trying to do what at the time she thought was the best thing. And now, of course, they love it. But at the time, it was like they were savage. So anyway, yeah, it's kind of like that's a little like piece of the story. There are about 1,000 other things.
Dude, there's so many. Yeah, I ended up leaving too. I got booted out of the Relics DAO because I was supporting you and Leonidas.
You're out of here.
And they literally kicked my ass out of there. They were like, you chose the wrong side.
Like,
damn. It's like, okay. So that was like kind of like my final, like, all right, I guess I'm leaving the historical community.
We're really showing our crypto age. This is like such a nerdy, like this is already nerdy, and this is like the nerdiest part of crypto.
It is the nerdy. Actually, I was wondering, Jake, are you on 2 cards? Or are you on your own?
Two, yeah.
Man, living the dream, bro.
Yeah, it looks good.
Dude,
yeah,
you look jacked there.
Dude, he made me jacked. Yeah.
What is going on here?
That's like me in like 20. That
was Jake before he worked 50 hours a day.
So Jake's got his own card.
And then me and Shannon have one.
Does it say hero, Jake? Wait, what does that say?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And then me and Shannon are on a card. I don't think that
Emblem card, yeah.
What's funny is I don't think some people realize that I'm actually not the co-founder of Emblem, right? But that's when Emblem launched September 6th, right? I was a Emblem user. I actually got rugged off of legacy vaults a few times, buying like empty Rare Pepe vaults. And that's when I started looking into it, and I was like, wait, what the hell is going on here? Actually, I found Emblem because Daniel Got Hits was chilling Rare Pepes, and he was like doing tutorials, and I was like, what is this crazy thing going on over here?
Yep.
Yeah, but yeah, 2 cards. Shannon's apparently the first legendary. I think that was pulled there. I'm gonna have to go buy some.
That's gonna age well, bro. Shannon is the first legendary. Like,
yeah,
that's gonna age well.
Legendary. So yeah, a little bit of HNFT history there. Rare Pepe vaults have been minting like crazy. There's been at least maybe 30 to 50 vaults per day being minted by the Rare Pepe community. So if there's ever a sign that NFTs are around the corner, NFT season, it's Rare Pepe. Rare Pepe is, in my opinion, it's like the Dogecoin of NFTs. When Rare Pepe starts running, then you're like, oh, this is like full blown alt season at
Yep.
this point in time, right? Because there's just so many cards, and Rare Pepe almost has like its own season within itself. I don't think people remember at the end of 2021. The Rare Pepe collection alone did like 20,000 ETH in trading volume in like a few months.
Crazy.
Like just crazy numbers. And that's not even including the like Bitcoin volumes. That's just like the Emblem volumes, right? There could have been another, who knows, hundreds or thousands of Bitcoin traded through counterparty and OTC deals and stuff like that, through Sotheby's, and Christie's and all that stuff. So something to look forward to.
Interesting point. We kind of talked about it a little bit, but like Emblem Vault used to be really controversial, especially within the counterparty community, because we were taking these native Bitcoin assets and trading them on Ethereum. And everyone was like, whoa, don't do, like, you cannot touch these assets. They do not touch Ethereum. They are Bitcoin assets. And just like Adam had his early controversies that turned out to be right, you guys had your early controversies that turned out to be right. Emblem Vault had an early controversy that turned out to be right. Migrate Fund has an early controversy. Whoa, you can't just migrate these tokens, and like it will turn out to be right. I mean, it's like some of these things are so obvious, and I mean, yeah, we're no strangers to controversy over here, which is funny because we're like the most transparent people literally ever, and we lay it all on the table, and still like, but you know, we have like really good intentions in everything we do. This industry is just like really nitpicky on like really
controversy without the crime, bro. It's like,
yeah, literally, we don't do any crime and we get all the shade.
Well, Adam and I were on a call with an investor the other day. This investor was like one of the earliest pump fund investors, right? I think he was like one of the first or something like that.
He was the first check in the door.
I think he was like the first or something like that. It was like a $10 million valuation or something like that. And he's a big HNFT guy and like big historical NFT fan. And so we're sitting there talking to him, and he's been following us for a while. And so we're kind of explaining Migrate Fund and kind of this other application that we've built that we haven't even launched yet, and just kind of everything where we're at. And I was like, you know, at the heart of it, all Emblem is like the whole ecosystem. It's really just a logistics company, an on-chain logistics company, right? Emblem Vault itself is like Amazon, right? You're taking digital assets, you're putting it inside of an NFT, and you're moving it from one blockchain to another. It's like, what does Amazon do? Amazon, you take items, put it in a box, and it ships from from a warehouse to somewhere, right? And I was like, what is Migrate Fund? Migrate Fund is literally like a business relocation. You're taking a token from a launchpad and you're moving it to an LP or another launchpad or another chain. And what's Agent Hustle, right? Agent Hustle is kind of like this intelligence layer, which allows people to move assets across chains and do different types of transactions as we continue to expand it. And I proposed this kind of like vision, which is something I've been saying for 3 years now at this point, since I joined the company, was like, when I look at like the total market size or potential of Emblem, I literally look at it as the international and domestic shipping industry. And when you combine, right, like the shipping containers, right, services, which is like in the middle of a tariff war, when you combine Amazon and UPS and all the shipping, Alibaba across all of the different countries, it comes out to 7.5% of global GDP. So you're saying like almost 1 in 10 transactions in revenue is literally logistics in the world. And so you look at that and you apply it to crypto. And when there's disruptors, they don't usually just attain a level of what their previous version is. They just completely surpass it, right? It's like, what did Amazon do to UPS and to the postal office? It literally put the postal service out of business, right? It's like, what's Bitcoin going to do to gold? It's not just going to attain gold's market cap. It's going to trounce it at some point in time, right? And it's going to make it look small, right? It's the same thing here. Like, so as I was pitching it to him, I'm like, I don't know, you know, I see a future where 1 in 10 transactions in the future on chain are going to be some sort of bridging or some sort of vaulting or wrapping or migrations. Like, it just makes sense. People move all across the world every day, right? How many people? Chris and I live in Vegas. We get 45 million people coming to Vegas per year, right? And then you put that into packages and stuff like that. And so I was like, you know, maybe it could be 5 years, could be 20 years from now. But when that happens and you have Emblem and 1 in 10 transactions are, you know, a vault or a migration or something like that, what's the potential size of that? Like, it is literally millions of dollars a day potentially.
Yeah, I mean, we see it already, the valuations in kind of wallet infrastructure to a degree. But even that, crypto's so, $4 trillion in total valuation for all of crypto. It's still nothing on a global scale. And as that ramps, the shipping compartment, as you put it, is going to ramp with it. I think we saw with Layer 0 and Wormhole yesterday, they're in this, battle. I don't know if you saw the interview. The guy was on Threads discussion.
Oh, no, I didn't see the interview. I was actually about to bring that up here because this is very relevant to the Emblem ecosystem.
Yep. So the guy from Layer 0 was on Thread, and so I mean, it was funny. I don't know if you saw this, Chris. His comments on Wormhole were basically, if this technology goes to Wormhole, if Wormhole wins this bidding war, it's going to zero. It was the most it's like they can't manage this tech and it'll all go to zero. Because basically Layer 0 built this entire thing. The thing that's up for sale, which is now held in a DAO.
Stargate, right?
Yeah, Stargate was completely built by Layer 0, as far as I understand. Basically, they built it. They put it in the DAO as the way to kind of monetize it, right, with tokens and blah, blah, blah. But it's now in a DAO. But they're completely the tech behind this thing. So you can imagine if they lose it, it's really a great play by Wormhole. Wormhole literally can't lose in this scenario. And this guy was, I mean, you got to listen to it because you can see he's like, God damn, if we lose this, like we've lost the whole game if we lose this technology. So it's really interesting. Yeah.
So just the backstory here is Wormhole and Layer 0 are the top two cross-chain messaging protocols. You can consider them an Emblem Vault competitor. We just go about it in a different way. And they're just limited to smart contract platforms. So you can move NFTs and fungible tokens across chains just as you can with Emblem. We just created a unique way to go about it where you can also move UTXO based assets where they can't. But with their technology, right, it's much easier to burn and mint and do all these different types of interoperability techniques. So Layer 0 raised $2 billion at one point in time to build this out a few years ago. Wormhole is backed by Jump, which is like the biggest trading group. And they also were hacked for $600 million, like 3-4 years ago, something like that. And Jump basically just plugged the 600 million. They're just like, here's 600 million, call it a day, move on.
Literally crazy, man. Yeah.
And so Stargate is the largest or one of the most popular bridges in the industry to move fungible tokens across different chains. I think it's like Stargate and D-Bridge, I think, are like the most popular too. So Layer 0 came out a few days ago, or maybe a week ago, said that they're putting in a $110 million bid for Stargate, which sits in a DAO. And it looked like the Stargate was going to accept it. And then Wormhole basically comes in and basically says in this post that Layer 0 is drastically underbidding what the actual price of Stargate is.
100%.
And so they're coming in to basically up the ante.
Wow.
And yeah, so they say that Layer 0 is offered 110 million it's at 110 million in Zero token for a treasury holding $76 million in stables and 16 million and more, but ignores Stargate's strong growth potential. $4 billion bridge, or $4 billion in volume in July, and $345 million in TVL, projected $2 million in revenue across 80 chains. Well, first I want to say, kind of interesting, right? Emblem's TVL is 150 million. That's in NFTs. Our annual revenue is not that high, but suspected to grow to that over a few years. So positive for Emblem Vault whenever the NFT bridge idea starts to come center. But you can't tell if is Wormhole actually serious, because Stargate was built on Layer 0. It was not built with Wormhole technology. It was built
So awesome.
with Layer 0. So you suspect here that, well, first, this is bullish for interoperability in general, getting these kind of M&A things on the longer tail assets coming in play. But also, my guess here would be if Wormhole wins, they're going to basically disassemble Stargate and plug in the Wormhole technology and then kind of continue on like nothing ever happened, I guess. But I saw some other posts that like the W token, which is a Wormhole token, is just literally straight down since it launched. And a bunch of people are like, they can't even manage their own token. Imagine them trying to manage this.
I think they are managing it. They're selling it for cash.
Crazy.
So I guess we'll see what kind of happens here. The Wormhole hasn't officially put the bid in, but knowing that it's backed by Jump and that they've literally been just dumping the Wormhole token for a year at this point, they've probably got a lot more capital than Layer Zero does. And really for right, so they're putting a bid in at 110 million for a bridge that only does 2 million in annual revenue. It's kind of interesting. That's like what, a 55x multiple on the revenue.
Was July project. Oh, you're right. Sorry, only 2 million in annual revenue. Yeah, that's crazy, man. Although I know it's crypto, so
they could have low fees, and then that kind of subsidizes the competition, basically. So they could buy it, shut it down, and then raise fees because they don't have any competition.
Certainly, the Layer Zero guy was putting out the vibes that Layer Zero was many, many, many times larger than Wormhole, and Wormhole's this like tiny little speck.
It is larger. Layer Zero does have a lot more adoption. Wormhole does have some like institutions and stuff using it, but Layer Zero seems to be winning in terms of like the cross-chain stablecoin. Like they partnered with Tether and I think like BlackRock and a few of these other ones.
Yep. Basically saying, Wormhole, maybe the total value of Wormhole is, I don't know, 700, 800 million. How are they going to come up with 200 million? I don't know. Who knows, man? This is the games, but as a competitor, like I'm like, fuck, we should throw in a bid, bro. we'll figure out the tokenomics of it later. Like, but this is like, it's really, there's no other way to play it. If you're Wormhole, you absolutely do this. Worst case scenario is your competitor pays more for something,
I think this just sets us up as a good opportunity for the Emblem fungible token bridge, which we've been talking about for a long time. We can literally just enter the market with all of the UTXO assets, right? You start with Pepe Cash. That's probably like the most popular one that people want. And you just continue to expand it outwards. And we have a method to do it. Actually, we'll be testing that out here in the next few months. So imagine a protocol that has an NFT bridge and a fungible token bridge. What is the value of that? If these interoperability protocols are getting 55x multiples on their revenue, like damn, we're sitting on something a lot more valuable than I even initially thought. So I do mean it when I think that Emblem could be one of the most valuable companies in the industry, given maybe 5 years or so. Just intelligence and interoperability is now coming into centerfold, which is perfect timing. I think intelligence kind of makes interoperability sexy, right? Because what we're seeing with some of the other AI platforms like Banker and Hanon, where you can kind of just type in, hey, bridge this over and stuff. Like most of the people who are net new to the industry will have no idea what a fucking bridge even is. Totally. They'll just think like that's like normal, right? Like move my asset over here kind of thing.
Right. I'm telling you, in the future, there's not even going to be move my asset. It's just, I want this. That's it. And like the AI will just figure it out. That's just the way it's going to happen, man.
And the Amazon example is really good. Like they employ more robots than they do humans at this stage, which is a crazy stat. And like Hustle would just be like the execution layer of our automation for all the movement of the boxes, quote unquote.
Yep.
And I mean, we don't really shill Emblem too much. We're not like, but I mean, everyone's so humble here, but we have a team of legends, like literally like some of the earliest crypto people.
Just look at the cards, bro.
Look at the cards, bro. But like, I mean, that's just a good example. I mean, take the kudos because it's real. And like Shannon's amazing. You guys are amazing. The tech is amazing. Emblem is like an institution that's been being built since 2016. We're talking about how Kanye in 2025 is a visionary for getting into crypto to some people, for leading the charge for like maybe the fashion or music industry or something like that. But like when you look back in 10 years and you see a company like Emblem has been building since 2016, and you wonder how it got to be this giant conglomerate that it will be in 10 years. I mean, it's like obvious and it's like hidden in plain sight. You know, it's obvious to anyone paying attention, but look at how many companies have been building since 2016. And that alone is like, what's that worth? It's such like a valuable part of crypto history, not just like in crypto since 2016, like building in crypto since 2016. Like you look at Wormhole, you look at Layer Zero and stuff like that. Like they have teams that are building, but they don't have the social layer that something like Emblem has. They don't have like maybe the same type of vision, or maybe they just have larger teams and maybe perceived more execution. But we're a small, scrappy team that's like competing with these teams that raise billions of dollars. I mean, literally, I don't know, just have to give credit to where credit's due. I'm super proud to work at Emblem.
Yeah, me too. Glad to have you here. And also, Migrate Fund now. Lots of attention. We put this post out a few days ago on the update. The audit is underway. We contracted Halborn Security, who's one of the few audit firms who does auditing for Solana Foundation and for the Solana Layer 1. When I was talking with them, they said that like with Solana specifically, they contract out multiple audit firms, which makes sense to audit the Layer 1 whenever they push like node updates and stuff like that. So we went literally to the best, obviously paid an arm and a leg and maybe my future firstborn child to get this done. But it's necessary, right? For everyone involved from the user side, for us as well. It's like a very complex protocol. They actually said this is one of the more complex applications that they've been submitted. That's why they put their best Solana auditor on it. They literally put it at high complexity on their like scale. It was like the highest you could go. So, you know, that gives me a little bit more, you know, confidence that it's going to be a little bit of an issue for other people to try to build this. Not saying it's not impossible, but there is a ton of nuance in this stuff. Like even sitting there explaining it to them, to their two engineers on how it works, and I could just see in their face, their auditors are like, "Fuck."
I mean, even like I don't know what we got into yesterday, just figuring out the fee structures for these different, you know, for Bonk and for Radium and you know all the different fees and stuff. And I'm obviously have no idea how this works on the back end technically, but you can see it's very complex, man. Very complex, which is a good thing, right? You know, people are like, "What's your moat?" Oh, I'll just build it myself, and it's like, good luck, bro. Good luck.
That's what I tell people nowadays, dude. Good luck, please.
I mean, I'm not going to name the team, but it was a team.
There's like, the Heaven guys. The Heaven guys.
They're going to build it. Expect this in the next 2 weeks. It's like, okay, we'll see. You know, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. You know, and which is funny because we were talking to them in a chat literally a week ago about integration, but we didn't meet their timeline, and that was for the exact reason. I was like, dude, this thing is complex. I can't get this integrated in a few weeks, but we do have a growing, and I mean growing, migration wave for next month. Just this post alone that we put out has, I think, 15 teams or so. There's, I think, another team supposed to announce today. I think there's supposed to be like 2 or 3 supposed to announce in the next week or so. And it just seems like teams continue to reach out. It was a lot of teams, and still most teams reaching out want to migrate to Bonk Fund. There has been kind of an interesting divergence though, where maybe because the idea of migrations are a lot more popular now, people are starting to ask about different platforms and getting in touch and stuff like that. And it's a good position to be in, right? It's like there's you're this third-party migration tool that essentially vampire attacks other platforms for liquidity, but at the same time, if the platforms work with us, you can also bring liquidity to your platform, right? So it's like a fuck you, I love you relationship, right? It's like that toxic relationship where it's like I can't let you go, but I also can't let you leave either. I don't know. I was trying to think of like other situations in crypto where you're a team like this, like where you can kind of, you know, siphon liquidity or recover liquidity and then also bring new business. So you take business away and you can also bring business there. I don't know that I couldn't think of really any situations like that. So we are exploring multiple frontiers here on terms of first being it may be the first you know, I try to say it lightly if we are the first, but you know, one of the early teams trying to actually commercialize and productize the idea of migrations. Like migrations have been going on for years. Shannon did a migration in 2016, right? for Emblem, right? Migrating Ribbit rewards from its own
Ribbit
blockchain,
rewards.
which was a travel blockchain. Literally, this is before Ethereum even existed. It was right. Everyone was forking Bitcoin and creating their own pseudo Ethereums. So it was a travel blockchain and migrated it to Koval on Counterparty in 2016, right? So, and I know there was migrations even before that. So it's been going on for quite a long time. But now the tech is kind of there. We can try to commercialize it, and the interest. I think the proliferation of like launch pads is really what set this off. Because I mean, without the lock liquidity, you could just do a migration pretty simply. Obviously, you have to do like snapshot and claim and all that kind of stuff, but it's doesn't need that much assistance from teams. So this will be taking place next month. You know, we're going to have the audits continuing for a few weeks, and then we're going to probably spend a week onboarding all of the teams to the platform, and then it'll be live, and we'll see kind of what happens there. Game on, right? Should be a pretty big windfall between. Here's kind of like the question, right? It's like you have like an estimated $50 million in liquidity migrating. I'm curious to see like what that liquidity is at the end of migration, right? We saw that with Tensorium, the token went from $800,000 market cap to 2.5 million, so 3x during that time, which means that the liquidity itself would have doubled, right? Because it's one side of the LP or so, or yeah, it would have been 150%. So, you know, if these tokens, you know, double, triple, whatever it is, what does that actual liquidity look like? And then what does that send messages to all the other teams, which is interesting. There's some interesting game theory from a user perspective, from a project perspective, and also from a business perspective for us, right? Like what's the value add to the company if you have a successful migration of 25 teams or 25 teams, you get, you know, 50 million to $200 million in liquidity moved. You know, what does that send to all these other launch pads and LPs on the interest? Do they either partner with us or do they go build their own, right? Or they try to buy it, right? It's like, who knows, right? You see this like bidding war with Layer Zero. And if you're essentially like the de facto third party, yeah, should be interesting.
Or do they just ramp rewards, right? I think in a lot of, I mean, we're already.
Oh, you're saying like their countermeasure to it.
Their countermeasure, you know, we've seen it a little bit with Pump. Pump started moving literally right when we were doing the first migration or the end of our first migration. You know, they started hitting the CTOs and giving them, you know, these tiny little packages. And, you know, Radium or Bonk just kind of came out with a little bit of a bump, I think yesterday or the day before. And so you're just seeing this level up. And I think that, you know, that if I was a launch pad, that would be my main thing. It's like, how can I strategize rewarding teams that are already here so they don't want to move, right? And attract new people who do want to move here, right? So I think in that way, it could get real interesting. Obviously, you know, we point back to 21 and what Blur did and moving over for like the big traders and stuff. Why wouldn't I move to Blur when it's zero and I'm getting 0 fees plus I'm getting a reward? We're seeing this kind of all over crypto. Look at I don't know, the Orbit and what those guys are doing, you know, attacking Monero, right? It's like, it's reward systems. They're actually paying you more for working with them. And I think, you know, this is the free market. Like, I actually love that. And, you know, being at the center of it where it can kind of all move and take place is really fun and awesome. But it's going to be a wild 6 months. I think there's just, I have zero question. There's going to be a launch pad. Well, I guess kind of Heaven maybe already did it where 100% of rewards go back, but it turns out the fees are like some crazy 1.5% on it. You can't, you know, you move the token, it's 1.5%. So they've layered on fees and then hit it behind the veil of like, oh no, but the fees go all back. And it's like, that's not so great for the trader, right? So I think there's still some interesting options here where, you know, you could go to a 0 fee environment. You know, who knows? Or, you know, 100% of the fees get returned to How about the fees returned to the buyers? That could be an interesting thing. Who knows if that could happen? So yeah, I think it's just going to get people are going to get creative because it's a battle here for money.
Yeah, it really does remind me of the NFT marketplace wars, right? You saw LooksRare come in, and they were kind of the first one to do 0% marketplace fee rewards to the buyers, etc. And then like 6 months later, you saw Blair come in, right? And they were like, well, we're going to raise $200 million and we're going to do 0% fees. And then we're going to penalize you if you list your NFTs on other marketplaces, right? And then we're also going to vampire attack OpenSea by using Seaport, but somehow circumventing paying them royalties or creator royalties or all these different kind of games. It really feels like that's kind of like the era that we're entering right now.
You're muted, Chris. Oh, you're still muted. What happened?
Sorry, my gardeners are here, so it might be. But it's kind of like NBA teams or MLB teams where like you can reward people to a certain amount. You have a salary cap where it's not even profitable, no matter what the player or team or community would do for you. You just can't afford to have them anymore, so you're able to lose them. And maybe incentives will dry up at some point. And then I could see a world where teams kind of play the game where they hop between incentivization chains and things of that nature and just farm them and keep on using Migrate Fund repeatedly to best benefit their community. And, I was thinking about it, and everyone thinks that migrations are kind of like short term, but they're actually like long term. Like this is like how you're reclaiming your sovereignty of your token, earning the fees that your community provides to the launchpad or the specific blockchain. And I think that that's only going to accelerate. And there's like, I posted it, but dude, there's millions of tokens. There will be billions of tokens over the next 10 years. There's only 100 teams that are migrating. Like that number is going to get so much bigger. Just the market for Migrate Fund is exponentially bigger than even we thought when we built it. And this is the earliest inning. So
yeah, I like that you say about continuing to migrate, because I always saw migrations. Even we were, theorizing the kind of Cobalt to Keys migration. Some people were asking, they're like, if you migrate to Runes, like, what if there's a better Bitcoin standard? I'm like, well, just upgrade to the better standard. I don't know. Like migrating. I don't know. Like, to me, it's like, if there's a better,
is the value prop, right? The community is the sell.
Yeah. And it's like, if I'm a community member and I have a leader and a team who's consistently looking for better technologies to support, like, how is that anything but bullish?
That's what you want. Yeah.
Yeah. God forbid you as a token holder, you have to go click a few buttons every 6 months or a year or so, but
you're getting paid for it. You're earning, right? It's getting passed back to the holders at some point. Otherwise they wouldn't keep migrating. So
we've if there's anything we know is that you have to have a pot of money on the other side to get people to migrate or to move tokens or do whatever. But if you set up that pot of money, like, people will all move. Everybody will move. I don't know. If Monad tomorrow said, hey, all meme coins who come to Monad get $1 million bonus, every fucking meme coin on earth would move to Monad tomorrow, right?
And then they'd move off after they got
move off immediately after, right? It's like, you know what I'm saying? So, to Chris's point, it's like, we haven't even begun this idea of like cross chains and stuff like that, which could get really interesting too. It's just about where the incentives are going to be, right? And that's when it gets really cool.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I guess that's to even say, to say at least. The incentive itself, like we kind of showed with Hustle, it's like, if you tell people that they're going to lose money, then they are going to migrate, right? Like, that is the biggest incentive of it all. Yep. Is the fear, right? We know just from a psychological level, fear is like the biggest incentive, right? This is kind of like what politics operate on, like installing fear into people so that they obey. And since we started building out migrations, right, the Solana communities kind of come out and be like, well, we don't like the no rewards. We want people to do 1-to-1. And then it's like, well, if you do 1-to-1, then, and if people know that they don't have to do it, then they're not going to do it, which therefore means you don't get the liquidity to move. And so we've kind of come up with this like middle ground where it's like, which I think is actually like a pretty good solution, to be honest, which is like, hey, well, if you don't migrate, you could get penalized, whatever the percentage is, 10%, 50%, 80%. And then there's a 90-day claim period for that, for those non-migrators or for those penalty people. So you're now giving them 90 days to figure that out, and they're getting a haircut. And then all of those tokens that are not claimed, right, go back to the team. So I do think that's like a pretty good medium. Right. Heaven came out and said that they think this is like disingenuous and this is not the right way to do it. So they said that, at least this is from the post that I've read, that they're going to basically subsidize the LP for the people who do not migrate. So in this example, let's just say you're trying to migrate $1 million liquidity pool and 50% of tokens migrate. So you get 50% of the liquidity migrated. So 500,000, like Light is saying that they're going to subsidize $500,000 for your liquidity pool for those people and then airdrop tokens. And, you know, when you have, they raise like an ICO of 30 million. So you can do this for a little while, but to do this continuously, I think is a losing battle, as we kind of saw this happen with Blur as well. You can only subsidize for so long.
Right.
Yeah, you can print in a brand new imaginary token to in theory pay for this for a time, but eventually that
FTX.
that is not a flywheel. That is a Ponzi, and that Ponzi runs out.
That was the FTX Ponzi, right? They just pushed the value on FTX, and then, anyways, I just think that the narrative is going to flip, and like we're looking at the inbound. The inbound is crazy considering how taboo a migration might be, and like you might face backlash, your community might sell. And still teams are willing to be like, this is something that is in our best interest. And what does the inbound look like when there's all these teams that are successfully across the finish line and there's no more backlash? There's always going to be some backlash, but it's not as, you know, controversial as it maybe was to be a first mover. The first movers are always the most controversial, right? It has diminishing returns. And so what's the inbound look like that? And just where, you know, we talk about teams in beta and protocols in beta and things like that. And like, we just build in public and we put the product out so that we can battle test it quicker than anyone else. We get to the best result the fastest. And so other teams can build migration platforms, but you want to trust all your community's funds in a protocol that's been built in 2 weeks because they wanted to beat us to market or something like that. It doesn't make sense. And we're just in such a good position. When you look at how far the market is, we already have a migration under our belt, our audit's underway. We have teams lined up. You know, we already have a bunch of market share. So we welcome competition, but it is going to be hard to compete, at least initially. So pretty excited about the positioning.
Yeah, until you get kind of the blueprint, right? This was kind of like with pump funds, a good example. There was no competing launchpad for almost a year until, right? So they basically just commanded that market share and they still have it. Now you have teams in the last 3, 4, or 5 months come out and start competing with it, but they've had a gigantic head start. It doesn't mean that they won't lose some market share, which, you know, from at least from what I'm seeing, like a lot of the quote unquote ICM markets are leaving pump because they don't, right? They're long-term builders and their vision doesn't align with the kind of creator focused, you know, narrative, which is fine. And it was like this with OpenSea. When OpenSea got so big, they became essentially like a compartment store like Walmart, and you're not able to service these like growing, you know, market sectors so that they want to go leave or they want to go, you know, go build their own marketplace that can service art or historical NFTs or photography or whatever. I think the launchpads are starting to do that as well. So I do think like Bonk's going to have like a pretty big ICM market, at least just from the teams that are migrating. And if that's like a little bit of a sign, you know, we'll kind of see from there. But the interest is growing. I mean, in this week alone, I think we have chats now with like every AMM on base now, right? Like Uniswap and Aerodrome and the base team and stuff like that. And it is interesting because it's the narrative of 2 platforms, 1 token, where the introduction came through Agent Hustle because we're like, hey, you know, we're talking with like Coinbase and stuff. And they're like, oh, this is cool. We need this on base. And we're like, yeah, you know, we're going to. And like, here, we'll set you up with all of these different people. And then you start talking to them about Hustle. And it's like, oh, we have this migration platform. And they're like, oh, this is more interesting than the AI thing is to their business model, right? Like to somebody like a Uniswap or an Aerodrome. They're like, yeah, you know, Agent Hustle is cool and all, but, oh, bringing business to my platform, like that's way more interesting.
Way more interesting. Yeah. It's and I do think, I mean, this is like this sleeping giant of base, right? And the idea of being on the base app kind of natively through Aerodrome, I think could get really attractive from meme coins and coins on other chains. But who knows? You know, we still have to build it and stuff. But there are these things out there that could get, to Chris's point, very interesting about moving tokens, not just on Solana, but across all chains. Could get really interesting.
Yeah, this is like the. Oh, go ahead, Chris.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's interesting when you have experience in the interoperability sector, right? You can put out these kind of ideas. Like I put this idea out in our Emblem team chat the other day, and I was like, well, if you have an instant listing on on Coinbase through Aerodrome, you know, what if we package the Emblem fungible token bridge into the migration platform where it's like, oh, you're a Solana project that's migrating from Pump Fund to debate, or from Pump Fund to Bonk Fund, but oh, we could package in where we can bridge your token to Aerodrome upon migration, so that when your migration's completed, you're instantly listed on Coinbase, right?
Crazy.
Like I don't think any other team can really do anything like that, nor can they even conceive of these ideas because they don't really have the experience or the tooling.
Why would you want to go across chain, Jake? That makes no sense.
Do you remember that debate? Like, what was that, like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when we were this was when the ordinals were trading on OpenSea through Emblem, and people are like, no, they have to trade on Bitcoin. They like there's cross chain is a losing battle.
It's only Bitcoin. Don't touch the Ethereums.
It's like I remember, I think it was BitGod. He was like, no, it's like. He was like, he's like, all these chains are like individual internets. And I was like, so you don't think there's going to be one giant intranet? It's all individual ecosystems that are just going to be completely isolated forever. Like that just seems like.
And he was like, yes.
He said, yeah. I was like,
and there's actually going to be only one. It's only going to be Bitcoin. All the others are done.
Sound like a cave. People sound like
it's literally it's impossible for me to disagree more. It's like you're telling me, I don't know, the sky is not blue. It's just like insanity. It's insane.
Right. And you know, there's two business models since the beginning of time: to bundle or to unbundle. And you know, you see it through the streaming wars, you see it through the Walmarts, you see it through, you know, that's why when you get to scale, other startups are able to come in and kind of work on your margins because you can't pay attention to them anymore. So your margin always goes to zero. But with Emblem, the migration platform fits so well in our business model. It's just like another tool in our utility knife. And so for like some of these other protocols to try and build a migration platform on top of building their protocol, it kind of makes me weary about how good their protocol might be. Because if their protocol was good enough, people would want to bridge there. And these teams are already small and fragile anyways. They're taking resources from building their protocol to focus on building a migration platform so that people can migrate to their mid protocol because it only has I mean, in terms of like usability, it just seems unrealistic. It seems good in theory, but I would be weary of platforms trying to build their own migration platforms if they don't have the team size to do it, because most of these developers are already well understaffed and overutilized, and to stretch them even further to build out another platform that they didn't intend on building initially seems really unlikely.
The delusion of vibe coding is real, bro. It is real.
Yeah, these vibe coding, bro. Yeah, give me a Red Bull, a White Monster, a pack of Pop-Tarts.
I'm gonna do this
14 hours.
Weekend. I mean, I've told you, I've had like 4 of these conversations in the last 3 months. First, it was about, you know, AI and NFT bridges and stuff, and literally, I bumped into like smart founders of big projects who just feel like they could just vibe code this thing in a weekend. It's like, it's insanity. It's insane. Not only with Migrate Fund, but like Emblem Vault. Oh, we'll just I'll do it this week. It's like, really? Okay, bro.
And we're going to see this weird game theory play out where you might see teams really, like we kind of talked about it, but you might see teams really incentivize movement to their platform. But once that incentivization is taken by the team, they might just move off. And so like, you could find yourself really overpaying for a lot of things that maybe aren't as permanent as you would think that they would be.
100%. Yep. Shizzy says, Hustle's the best tech on Solana. I have been looking too deep diving, finding anything better, but I just cannot. And I did this too. I remember the first when Adam and I first started working at Emblem towards the end of 2022. We had this conversation, right? The original vision was to join Emblem and build a historical NFT marketplace. Oh man, how wrong we were, right? It took honestly, that was pretty quick. It was like within a few weeks to a month. We were like, holy shit, no, this is like the protocol. Like, this is like the ability to take anything anywhere. And then I spent a few months trying to look for competitors, and that's when I found like the bridging industry and like Layer 0 and Wormhole. And I'd look at it and I was like, dude, these are just like so virtually different. These are cross-chain messaging protocols. This is a vaulting protocol. And I think there's only been one ever Emblem competitor that I've ever seen. It's like this Russian project that kind of does the same idea or has the same idea. But what I learned and what we've learned over the last few years is like interoperability is very heavily dependent on the business development game. You have to play the ground game. Like even just having 100 different chats now with all these teams who want to migrate, and the dozens of phone calls that we've done, and no matter how simple you lay it out, you have to literally have this face-to-face conversation. It's very similar to real estate and like first-time home buyers. Like no matter how simple the process is, or no matter how many times you try to automate the home buyer experience online, just there's going to be a large amount of people who want that human to human connection. They need to be here. They need every single question answered, no matter how big or how small it is. And even as we're building an AI on top of that, like the white glove service or of like moving stuff and questions, whether it's NFTs or fungible tokens or contracts or whatever it is, most of these people are going to want the conversation, which I just don't think the majority of teams, 99% of the teams, have the ability or skill set to even be able to answer most of these questions.
I mean, even for like the NFT itself.
You're on mute, I think.
You guys got me? You got me?
Oh wait, am I on mute?
I was gonna say, even for NFTs, like how many conversations have we had? Literally dozens, where somebody's like, "Hey, I want to move a Satoshi card, right? I want to put it in an Emblem vault to sell it or whatever," and they want to be handheld through that process because it's a $50,000 card, right? And that's super important to them. And obviously, with Migrate Fund, this is super important to people. To Jake's point, it's like people want to be walked through this process. They want to make sure they're doing it right. They want to make sure they don't lose their assets, because there's no backseas in crypto. And so, I think, to Jake's point, it's just having a team that can deliver on that is, there's no discounting it.
Yeah. But what did you say?
Back.
I'm back. Yeah. It's been weird with StreamYard is like every once in a while, it just like mutes me or it like mutes the audio. I don't know what the issue is with that. So I just have to leave and come back. But we are good now. So, it's bullish for all of us. Chris, were you gonna say something?
No, I just think that, these are significant assets and people ascribe value to them based on not just like monetary value, but how meaningful they are. And so I think the hand holding is kind of necessary, and it'll probably always be, but also like we're at the early stages of this tech, and it was clunky, and it is clunky, and it keeps on getting much better. The Emblem Vision product is much better than the original Emblem Vault product, but we've still got a ways to go before grandmothers are going to be using this.
Oh yeah, a long way to go. Bro.
And we recognize that, but I mean, we're at the earliest stages of tech, and the progress that we've made is like monumental. And so, I don't know, we're in a good position.
Good position. And outside of that, with Hustle, we pushed a Meteora update with so you could do LP with Meteora. We also integrated the Meteora DBC, which is a Meteora launchpad. I think this is going to get some traction as we've been kind of having conversations with all these teams. It seems like there's a new influx of launchpad teams who are using Meteora DBC to kind of build out their launchpad. I mean, there was like some launchpad reached out to us about Migrate Fund today or this morning, and I was like, I've never even heard of this team before. They wanted to have a conversation. I was looking through their docs, and they're using Meteora, so it does seem like that is how Meteora is going to be taking on Bonk Fund and Radium, right? It seems to me pretty clear that Bonk Fund is the winner for the Launch Lab SDK in the Radium ecosystem, and you have like 5 or 6 kind of launch pads competing in the Meteora one between like Bags, Believe, this other one. There's like the Moonshot launchpad. There's the Jupiter Studio launchpad. There's probably going to be a bunch more. And then you have Heaven, who kind of built out their own system, their own AMM ecosystem. At some point, you just wonder, like, where is the top? I don't know if you remember, but for my 2025 predictions, I said that the second half of the year was going to be the top of the launchpad wars. I don't know if it's because we're just like in the middle of the cycle now, but I think it actually continues for much longer because it's evolving a little bit. But this could also just be because we're kind of in the center of it now, so it's hard to know where the actual top of it is.
Billions and billions of tokens, bro. Billions. Infinite times 10. Right? It's like every human on Earth is gonna have 1 million tokens, bro. It's just like infinite, bro.
It's true.
So it's so infinite. It's just a matter of what other stuff is it going to be innovated upon, right? And so yeah, this is great, man. So
on top of that, maybe we talk about, like, you know, the adults in the room are coming, the institutions that we're the kids and they're the adults. That's how it's always kind of portrayed. Well, the adults are going to have their own launch pads, and they're going to be launching their own professional ICOs, whatever, quote unquote, on their own launch pads. We haven't even seen that yet. We see all these scrappy meme coin launch pads, but we haven't seen the commercial launch pad. And then what happens when these scrappy teams want to migrate to the commercial launch pad? Well, I know there's Migrate Fund, right? And there's like, I don't know, it's just like these things, this is going to get so much bigger than we can imagine. We see it as
literally in like the babiest baby. We're in fucking meme coin.
I hate saying we're early. I don't want to say we're early.
It's like we haven't even seen, like, what's Robin gonna do? Robinhood going to do? We already know kind of Kraken's moving into the space, right? What's Kraken going to do? What are these big players?
Robinhood Launchpad? I mean, tell me that that's not in their boardroom right now. That's
You're telling me Robinhood's going to let Coinbase list all these meme coins without coming in and competing? Like, I think, you know, Robinhood, my gut tells me, you know, they're going to come into Solana and like have all these meme coins on Robinhood. You know, who knows what's going to happen here?
And you see it because they're like Chamath, he launched like his SPAC to buy DeFi tokens and stuff like that. But he's launching like a SPAC to, like, why don't you just launch a token that buys DeFi token? I don't know. You know, everything's going to be tokenized. I think that was day one when I got in most people get in the industry, they say, holy shit, everything is going to become a token. And like, I think everything is actually going to be, people are becoming tokens. Physical items are becoming tokens. Collectibles are becoming tokens. Your car key fob is becoming a token. I think everything's going to be tokenized, and it's good. Yeah, that's all I got.
It's kind of funny that we've, like, the whole industry's been pitching RWAs for a long time, and turns out it's complete opposite now, right? It's like, we're not going to bring your real world assets on chain. We're going to take your digital assets and take them to the stock market, right? Yeah. It's like DWAs instead of RWAs.
It's reversed.
It's the reverse. It is fascinating to see the tug of war between on-chain, off-chain, taking off-chain assets on-chain assets off-chain, all of these kind of rehypothecation and Ponzi games that are going to unfold. It's crazy to me that people think the top is in. I've seen this in the last few weeks, and they're saying like the treasury companies are going to implode. And I was like, dude, we haven't even seen their like rise up yet. Yeah. And their slow implosion afterwards. Like, they have to file per month or per quarter on like the updates. Like, this is going to take years for these treasury companies to unravel. It's not going to happen in crypto.
Maybe like we may have another year to this cycle. Like, I mean, it just, I'm not of the mind. All these people calling top and oh my God, it's over, bro. There's too many bullish things that have happened since Trump got into office to be if this is the top, like, holy shit, the world economy must be just fucking in shambles. And it's possible it is, but man, once they turn that money printer on, I think all of this stuff goes way fucking higher.
Yeah, I think they're juicing the markets. They want to run it hot. I would say like New Year's is going to be really telling. That's like a potential top, maybe like November, just because these treasury companies, the original ones, the ETFs, I should say, they were buying Bitcoin at 30,000. And so if Bitcoin's at 150,000, 160,000, 170,000 at the end of the year, I mean, that's like monumental gains on billions of dollars that they had initially bought in for. And like a 10% gain over a couple of years, 20% gain on billions is a massive win for some of these hedge funds. So that's something to look out for. But then you also have the midterms, right? And so all the incumbents always run the markets hot going into the midterms because they want to, you know, continue the legacy. So then you would look to like May. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. I can't see Bitcoin really going to the 250s. See it at like 180. I think is like, but that's a crazy number. Bitcoin was at $15,000 2 years ago. You know, like every $2,000 is a massive percentage gain on those original buys. And so, but that doesn't mean that everything else doesn't go monumentally higher. You know, the higher that Bitcoin goes, the more on the risk curve, you know, larger money is going to get. You get the Ethereum's at $10,000, $12,000, $15,000. Solana 600-800. I don't know. That's when it gets crazy, but I don't see a way that it doesn't get crazy. That's what I'm saying.
Crazier for higher, longer. Send in the migrations, and we'll wrap it up here for today. One final note I see in our chat, Shannon had a good perspective on the migration stuff. He says that the migrate plus platform wars remind me of credit card businesses that offer to pay for your other credit card if you move over the debt.
Yeah.
Cell phone companies and cable companies' idea and behavior is old and battle tested in other markets. And they just, and just like they all have their own methods and don't lock companies in, although cell phone companies and cable companies lock you in through paper contracts, just as like these launch pads lock you in with the burning of the LP tokens.
Don't want to break the casino, bro. Don't want to break the casino. No. Maybe your casino.
What an all-time tweet, man. I'm gonna hold that.
Yeah, we gotta save that. I gotta screenshot that one.
Yeah, they're growing on me, but that is that's like a Hall of Fame tweet.
That is, you cannot break the veil of the casino, man. If the illusion of lock liquidity is over, then the casino breaks. It's like, it's like all the gamblers in the Vegas casinos. Once we put the windows in, they realized there was an outside world and that they left the casino.
Awesome.
Oh man,
that 2,321 follower account, bro, it's breaking business models. Watch out for that Migrate Fund Twitter account. It's causing waves, bro.
What we should put in is revenue by, or revenue per follower is like similar to like the employee, like revenue per employee. Like I saw Hyperliquid is doing 1.3 or 1.2 billion in annualized revenue with 11 employees, which puts them at double what Tether is. Tether, I think it's like 55 million per employee. And so Hyperliquid's doing more. I mean, these small teams, we were talking about this the other day internally, but you know, Radium is like 11 people or 12 people. Hyperliquid's like the same, 11. Like, I think that's kind of like the optimal size. Is you get like 5 devs, you get 5 non-devs, and you have kind of a CEO. And it seems like you kind of, the devs do all the dev stuff and everyone else does everything off chain.
Yep.
That's kind of how it is. So yeah, I always cringe every time I go to these like conferences and people are like, I have 60 team members. I'm like, what? I've never heard of your protocol. What the hell do all these people do?
It is an insane number. It's a crazy number.
Dude, when we went to ETH Denver, there was like 3 or 4 teams I was talking with, and they're like, I'm the events coordinator. I was like, that's literally all you do? And they're like, yeah, that's all we do. It's literally just go to different conferences and set up events. And I'm like,
we're a pre-product. We don't have a product.
Yeah, and they were pre-product. Like there's like all of these teams. Like nobody was on mainnet. It's like, what the? This is just a giant party on VC dollars, I guess.
VC Ponzi's, man.
VC Ponzi's. Well, until then, we'll continue on with the show. We'll be back Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Until then, everyone have a fun and safe Thursday and weekend. We'll see you guys soon.
Later, guys.
Later.